My anime list and IMDb as evidence of cyber democracy. I realized a little late that my anime list and IMDb and many other TV show ranking sites are exactly what I had envisioned for the future. These websites are proof that cyber democracy can work. Just replace all the movies and shows with politicians and basically you get my version of a cyber democracy. Since the US has 355 seats in Congress, the top 355 politicians will be in Congress, and that will be it. Yes, these websites mainly use score voting instead of approval, but it doesn't matter because score voting is just as good as approval voting. The only reason I shat on it at times is because it creates some people who want to vote as honestly as possible, while some others who strategically vote by giving tens and zeros, which is just approval voting by the way, but that is not a big issue, and people who are voting honestly can simply choose to vote strategically at any moment. If the voting is live, people can see the votes and can change their votes. And if you actually paid attention to the history of these websites and their ranking, you will realize the instability paranoia is complete nonsense because people's opinions are super rigid. The top movies on IMDb are Godfather, Matrix, Saving Private Ryan, Pulp Fiction, etc. Very old classics that people just don't seem to forget, and there's no instability. And on my anime list, the same is true. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood has been the top anime for a decade until Frieren definitively surpassed it recently. And Steins Gate, Attack on Titan, Gintama has been up there for quite a while. Legend of the Galactic Heroes also took the number 10 spot and just stayed there for what feels like eternity. I'll comment on the history of my anime list since I have been an anime fan for long. There have been moments of instability in the votings. Ocean Oko, right after its epic emotional first 1 hour episode, had people going crazy and rating it as high as Full Metal Alchemist. That ranking and madness soon died down after people calmed down for a bit, and currently it rests at number 103 spot on the list. Bokudeke Inaimachi, aka Erased, climbed into the top 10 when it was first airing. It was a mystery show, so it garnered a lot of anticipation from the audience, but the reveal turned out to be super disappointing, and it was just a 12-episode show with a pretty mediocre villain, and the ending causing people to change their votes, and now it's ranking at the 280 spot, a humongous fall. Judging by this, something like a certain politician rising into the top ranks because they emotionally moved the audience or gave a lot of hopeful promises to people can happen, but quickly those people will fade away and be thrown out of the top spots when people either calm down and start thinking rationally or find enough data and information to conclude that the politician is no good. Very similar to how certain shows ranked high when they were airing and then fell flat into the abyss when it lost relevancy. Do note that every other anime has remained consistent in its ranking. Only some shows fly high or fall flat because of recency bias and lack of public knowledge on what is going to happen in the future of the show. Similarly, a lot of new politicians will have this swing most likely, but when people have enough information and calm down and are thinking rationally, their ranking will stabilize, meaning that being afraid of people being able to change their vote is ridiculous. This power is a gift, not a curse. We need to implement a system like My Anime List and IMDb to politics as soon as possible. Even Denmark's democracy is far inferior to My Anime List democracy, and that is worrying. All three of those are IMDb's top movie list. Which one is accurate? Which one shows us a quality way of choosing a president? How often do we allow the system to change the president? If you are letting the 255 most popular take the seats in Congress, what happens when a state like Wyoming, who only has a few 100,000 voters, can't find a politician to get enough votes to be in the top 555 5 to be elected? Do they no longer have representation in Congress? What happens when a state like California has enough voters to put 100 or more people in Congress? Do they now get the right to run the country the way they want while others get no say? Is the federal government running the election website, or is it run by states? Current administration doesn't know how to not tell the media its top secret plans. How can we trust they will run a complex daily voting system? If we know anything about human nature and politics, we know the corruption that comes with it. How will we know that this complex system isn't being manipulated? Like I said before, I like the outside-the-box thinking, but this idea is way too complex and chaotic to work. Using an internet movie voting system is not equivalent to a well-ran election. It's open to more interference by not only our own corrupt politicians, but foreign interference will continuously be a threat. No, using entertainment ranking sites like MAL and IMDB as a model for political cyber democracy is fundamentally flawed. Scope and complexity. Entertainment rankings reflect subjective preferences for fictional content. Political elections involve complex policy decisions with real-world consequences, impacting entire populations. The criteria for judging a movie or anime are vastly different from a criteria for evaluating a political leader's competence, integrity, and policy positions. Voter motivation and engagement. People engage with entertainment rankings for leisure and personal enjoyment. Political engagement requires informed decision-making, civic responsibility, and understanding of complex issues. The level of scrutiny and research applied to entertainment choices is significantly lower than what is necessary for informed political participation. Potential for manipulation and bias. Online rankings can be easily manipulated by bots, coordinated campaigns, and biased reviews. Political elections require robust safeguards against fraud and manipulation. The recency bias you observed in anime rankings demonstrates the susceptibility of such systems to temporary trends in emotional manipulation, which is highly undesirable in political elections. Representation and governance. A system based solely on the popularity rankings ignores the need to diverse representation, minority rights, and checks and balances. Effective governance requires deliberation, compromise, consideration of long-term consequences, which are not inadequately addressed by simple popularity contests. Information and accountability. People who have access to all the episodes of a show or have the ability to watch a movie and judge it based on the work as a whole. Politicians often lie and hide their true nature. The voting public is often misled by propaganda. The ability to have accurate information and hold politicians accountable is far greater in judging entertainment than in judging politicians. The flaw in score voting. While you state that score voting is as good as approval voting, it is not. Score voting is far more easily manipulated than approval voting. Strategic voting is far greater threat in score voting. This is because a person can give every political candidate a 0 except for the federal candidate who they give a 10. This makes it so that a person who votes honestly is effectively throwing their vote away. The Wyoming and California situation that you mentioned is perfect for me. That is exactly what I'm trying to do. Majority rule. People finding candidates that most can agree is good for the largest number of people. That is the basis of democracy. This is not a bug, it is a feature. Wyoming having the same voting powers as California is simply awful. I don't know why you're protecting minority rule other than just simple fear of change. It should be ran by the state, obviously. And by state, I mean the federal state. Obviously, but with the open ballot being implemented, and also people can use that to check if the votes are rigged themselves, and also keep a surveying eye on the website. Also, I don't think it's right to blame the people for spilling top secret data because A. Information is hard to keep secret and easy to spread. B. We are a democracy. We should operate with little top secrets as humanly possible. Hiding information from the public goes against democracy because people need that information to vote better, and those top secret papers may contain conspiracies to harm the public or other countries, like what happened with the Yemen leaks. You can hand count the votes if you're using open ballot. Just do that and make everything transparent. That'll save us from all sorts of corruption. And so long as you can change your vote and the always continuously voting policy is in effect, even if the server went down because of foreign threats, then it will just easily be back online and no cyber attack can last forever. Just a few hours or days worth of server downtime will happen. While I agree that score voting may be worse than approval voting, it's really not actually that worse, especially if people can change their votes. The fact that the system is always live and people can change their votes makes it so that a lot of people will start implementing the strategy to give zeros and tens, which is good because that is exactly approval voting. Approval voting is score voting, but you can only give 1 and 0. They are really similar if you think about it. And the fact that IMDb and MAL are voting for TV shows instead of candidates doesn't change the fact that there is nothing wrong with the system. It will be exactly the same and it will still work with political candidates. I already explained why some candidates may swing, but large majority won't. Being able to change your votes is a really good thing because it helps in reducing the amount of time a candidate can be in power simply by swinging people's emotions and being reasonably popular or any other underhanded tactics that doesn't win the approval of the majority in the long run. Imagine if you could only change your votes once every 4 years in MAL. That will make it so that certain shows that were airing like Oshinoko, Dress Up Darling, Erased to stay at the top for 4 years just because people were being emotional during that voting time and voted in a certain way. If they regret their decision, there's no way to change it and it just sucks. It's really sad that politics, something which matters for the life of millions, is done in a much more flawed way than simple online voting website for artistic works. Maybe the average artist is smarter than the average politician. Who knows? I don't know.